It isn't hunger, it isn't greed, and it isn't your dog trying to take charge of the house. Watch closely the next time you put down a treat. Some dogs, belly full, bowl still half loaded, will pick up that one last biscuit, carry it across the room, and start pushing at the couch cushion with their nose, as if tucking an invisible blanket over it. No dirt, no hole, just a quiet, careful little burial in the middle of your living room. Maybe you've laughed at it. Maybe you've never really thought about it at all. But here's the strange part. The better fed your dog is, the more deliberate that habit can get. The dog who has never once gone without is often the most careful of all. So if it isn't about being hungry and your home has no rivals and no shortage of anything, then what, exactly, is your dog protecting that treat from? The answer isn't anywhere in your house. It's older than your house, older than your street, your town, your whole country. It's about 10,000 years old. Let's get into it. Let's start with that funny little motion, the one almost every owner has seen. Your dog finishes eating or decides they're saving the best for last, and they start nudging the empty air around the food, pushing at the floor, the rug, the edge of the bowl with the top of their nose. Soft, blunt, deliberate. Over and over. Pushing nothing, over nothing. Here's what's actually happening. That nose push isn't random, and it isn't confusion. It's a piece of inherited choreography. A small, fixed routine passed down so faithfully that your dog performs it without ever being taught. It's the same kind of motion wild canids use to rake dirt, leaves, and snow over a hidden stash of food. Press it down, cover it over, smooth it flat. The movement is wired in so deep that it runs even when there's nothing there to move. A complete burial, performed on a bare hardwood floor, over a treat that is sitting in plain sight. So when your dog tucks in the carpet around their bowl, you're not watching a quirk they invented this afternoon. You're watching an ancient routine play out, with the dirt edited out. It looks a little silly. It's actually one of the oldest things your dog still knows how to do, and they do it without a single lesson. Now let's clear away the easy explanations, because most of them are wrong. Your dog isn't burying food because they're greedy. They're not doing it because they dislike the meal. In fact, dogs tend to save the things they value most. A dog rarely bothers to hide something they don't care about. So a buried treat is closer to a compliment than a complaint. It's your dog saying this one matters. And here's the explanation I most want you to let go of completely. This is not your dog being dominant or trying to be the boss or running some little power play on you. That whole idea, that a dog hiding food is somehow climbing a ladder over you, comes from an old, outdated picture of dogs that the science moved past a long time ago. There's no throne. There's no ranking. Your dog is not managing you. What there is a much older instinct, and it has nothing to do with you at all. A well-fed dog buries food because the instinct simply can't read your pantry. It doesn't know about the bag of kibble in the closet, or the bowl that gets filled at 6 o'clock every single night, like clockwork, for years. It reads a far older world, one where the next meal was never promised to anyone. Think about that for a second. This habit survived because, long ago, the dogs who didn't save the surplus often didn't survive long enough to pass anything on. The careful ones did. Your dog is their descendant. Every dog alive today is the end of a long, unbroken line of survivors who knew, somewhere in their bones, never to waste a windfall. So the real question was never why your dog does something strange. It's what that surplus was always for. To see it clearly, we have to leave your living room and step out into the wild. Out there, food doesn't arrive on a schedule, and it certainly doesn't arrive twice a day in a clean ceramic bowl. It comes in sudden, unpredictable windfalls, and then nothing, sometimes for days. So a wolf, a fox, a coyote brings down more than it can eat in one sitting, and the rest can't simply be left behind. It has to go somewhere safe. So it gets hidden. Back in 1976, a researcher named Macdonald documented this carefully in red foxes, and the same behavior turns up right across the canine family. Wolves, coyotes, Arctic foxes, even wild dogs. Scientists call it caching, which is just a precise word for storing food in a hidden place to come back to later. Wolves have been seen burying parts of a carcass, even food they've carried in their own stomach and brought back up to cache. Their pups do it too, tucking the extra away around the den whenever there's more than they can finish that day. Here's what that means and why it matters so much. In the wild, a buried meal was never a leftover. It was a lifeline. It was tomorrow's hunger, quietly solved today. The difference between making it through a lean week and not making it at all. So the dog patting the floor by your couch is running the exact same ledger their ancestors lived and died by. Eat what you can now, hide the rest, and live to eat it later. The bowl in your kitchen changed everything for them. The instinct just never got the message. But this raises a fair question. If it's only about saving food for later, why bury it? Why go to all that trouble? Why not just leave it sitting out and grab it when you're hungry again? Here's where it gets even more meaningful. You bury food so that nothing else finds it first. In the wild, a stash left out in the open is a gift to every scavenger, every rival, every passing stranger with a nose. Leave it exposed, and you might come back to nothing. Burying it hides the prize, out of sight, and much harder to smell. Behaviorists call the protective side of this resource guarding, and it's worth saying plainly what that actually means, because the word sounds scarier than it is. Guarding a resource isn't aggression, and it isn't a behavior problem. It's simply an animal protecting something valuable from being taken. The same impulse that makes you lock a door you walk through every single day. People often say the cool earth worked a little like a refrigerator, too, keeping the food fresher for longer. And maybe it did. But the bigger payoff is the one we're sure of. Hidden food is food no competitor can steal. Now look at your dog indoors. There's no soil to dig, no leaves to rake, so the instinct improvises with whatever's nearby. The cushion on the couch, a pile of warm laundry, the blanket on the bed, the narrow gap behind the sofa. Soft cover, standing in for cool earth. They're not making a mess, and they're not being difficult. They're choosing a hiding spot with real care. And researchers who studied wolves and dogs side by side found something even more remarkable about what happens next. Because hiding food only works if you can find it again. There's no point burying a treasure you can't return to. A forgotten cache is just food you threw away. So the instinct can't only be about hiding. It has to come bundled with a memory. And in 2023, a team of researchers in Vienna set out to test exactly that. With wolves and with ordinary domestic dogs side by side under the same conditions. They let the animals watch food being hidden in several different spots around an area. Then they waited and let them go looking. And both the wolves and the dogs could do it. They remembered where the food had gone, and they used that memory to walk straight back and recover it, finding more of it, and finding it faster when they'd actually watched it being hidden. Sit for a moment with what that means for the dog on your floor. Your dog isn't burying a treat and forgetting it the instant they turn away. Some quiet, working part of them is keeping a map, a sense of what they hid and roughly where they left it. They are filing it away to come back for. In its own quiet way, that's planning. The oldest, simplest form of it. A small bet placed on a future they fully expect to arrive. The whole system survived, intact, every single piece of it. Hide it, remember it, come back for it. A complete little act of wild bookkeeping, carried across thousands of years, across the long road from wolf to dog, all the way into a warm home where they will never, not once, actually need it. The world that built this skill is gone for your dog. The skill stayed. And hey, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more dog lovers who actually want to understand what their dog is really saying. So let's bring this all the way home, because this is where it stops being a fun fact and starts being something tender. Dogs will sometimes bury things they can't even eat. A favorite toy, a chew, a stolen sock, a single shoe, which quietly tells you this was never only about food. It's about protecting what matters, the way their ancestors had to protect it. And once you see it that way, the worry tends to fall away on its own. This isn't a sign that something is wrong with your dog. It isn't a disorder. It isn't dominance. And it isn't a habit you need to correct or train out of them. It's a survival routine, idling quietly in an animal that will never miss a meal again as long as they live with you. Think of it as one of the clearest windows you will ever get into who your dog still is, underneath the soft fur and the full bowl and the squeaky toys. Most of that wilder self stays hidden behind the easy comfort of your home, day after day. This is one of the rare, ordinary moments that quietly step into view. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to stop it. You don't even have to understand every part of it. You're simply watching evolution keep a very old promise, one made to a hungrier, wilder dog long before yours was ever born. The wild didn't leave your dog when they curled up in your house. It didn't get bred out or trained away. It just got comfortable. It lay down on your couch, let out a long breath, and decided to stay. And there's one last part of this. The part that, once you really see it, you won't be able to unsee. Picture the scene tonight. The kitchen light is on. The bowl is full. It's always full. It has been full every single day of your dog's life. And still, your dog carries one last biscuit across the room, presses it into the cushion right beside you, noses the fabric over it, checks it once, and lies down with a sigh. Every single piece of that ritual was built for a world your dog has never lived in, not for one day. A world of scarcity, a world of rivals circling, a world where the next meal was a question, not a promise. And they run the whole sequence anyway. Save some, hide it, remember where, guard it against a hunger that is never, ever coming. The same caching system that those researchers watched in wolves, running quietly in the dog asleep at your feet. But here's the part that matters most, the part worth slowing down for. It isn't that the instinct is useless now. It's who your dog chose to keep it next to. Think about it. A wild animal buries food because it cannot trust the future. It hides what it has because no one is coming to help. But your dog buries food a few feet away from the one creature who makes the future certain. The one who fills the bowl every time without fail. And then trusts that creature not to take it. Let that land for a second. They didn't lose the wolf. They didn't leave it behind out in the wild. They handed it to you and lay down anyway. You became the very thing that ancient instinct was built to survive without. The steady bowl, the warm floor, the promise that always gets kept. So that little buried biscuit isn't the wild leaving your dog. It's the wild looking around your living room, deciding you are safe enough, and keeping one small secret tucked in the cushion just in case. Not because they doubt you, but because loving someone with your whole heart and still saving a little something for tomorrow might be the most natural thing a living creature has ever done. So here's what I'll leave you with. The next time you catch your dog patting the carpet around their bowl, or tucking a chew under a cushion, or pushing invisible dirt over a treat they have no intention of eating yet, stop for a second and watch. You're not looking at a quirk or a mess or a dog being difficult. You're looking at 10,000 years of survival, still quietly keeping its books right there on your living room floor. And you're looking at something gentler, too. A creature who came from a world that never promised tomorrow, choosing to relax in yours. So tonight, when they bury that last biscuit beside you and lie down, let them. Let them keep their little hiding spot. They're not getting ready to leave. They're telling you, in the oldest language they have, that this, right here, next to you, is the safe place they finally get to be a little wild in. If you want to keep reading about the quiet things your dog does every day, stay with us. There's a whole hidden language in them.